Good.
We're done? All right, we're going to get started with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to go slightly out of order today because we have a promotional swearing in for a new lieutenant, and we've got some family and friends here, so we're going to do that first. Chief, if you want to come on up.
I like that. We all set in here?
Yes, yes. Turn the camera towards you.
Get my good side.
Oh, you're getting on camera.
Hello, everybody. Once again, thank you for giving us a few brief moments at the beginning of your meetings. You've been gracious over the last year about giving us these opportunities. And if you know me, I'm a firm believer in involving family and everybody from the community that's possible when we have officers get sworn in and things of that nature. Well, tonight, we actually have somebody getting promoted. Sergeant Doty, as he still is at the moment, came to us a year ago. I was blessed to get him. He's been unbelievable since. He's done everything I've asked for and then some for the last year. I'd like to thank his family for all the support they've given him over the last year. I know he's worked a lot of tireless hours for me and might have missed a few things at home, so thank you. And I know he's got a little bit more on his mind than they're expecting, by the way. He's got a little bit more on his mind than this, but at any rate, so last year when Sergeant Doty came, I had this box of badges and name tags and all this other stuff, and we had all these sergeant's badges. So I give a sergeant's badge there, and I have a lieutenant's badge. I said, well, I don't need this. So I gave it to him. I said, this is your motivation. He put it right on his corkboard that day, and it's been sitting on his corkboard ever since. And he has done everything I've asked, and then some. He took to this role, because this is a very different role. He was always in patrol and always hourly things, and I had to tell him, buddy, you're administrative now, you need to slow down a little bit. And that took some getting used to. It's a big adjustment for somebody that's been on the road for all those years. And he's done it unbelievably. So I couldn't be happier or more proud to promote him to lieutenant tonight. So, Jackie?
Big moment. It's a big moment.
Big moment, I'm very honored. Okay.
The mother-in-law here, it says.
Everybody got it? Raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I, Justin Doty,
I, Justin Doty,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent on me
all the duties incumbent on me
as a lieutenant of the Brentwood Police Department,
as a lieutenant in the Brentwood Police Department,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the state of New Hampshire.
of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right.
And as always, we got to do a couple
Photo time.
Thank you, everyone.
So, everybody come on in. All you tall people.
Yeah, I don't know, I'll go with the back.
Do a family photo.
I think we're good. You want to get pictures of it?
Oh, I know, thank you. Picture?
Yeah, do a family photo.
Hey, well, Steve, good to see you.
I usually go.
My poor wife has to put up with me.
Good job.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.
I think he's got to sign this, doesn't he? Hey, Justin.
Oh, I gotta sign, yeah. I knew on formal details. That's just me.
Thank you. Sign right here. You're the one solemnly swearing.
I rank like a second grader.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
That it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we need
Congrats.
a motion?
Great
Or
job.
just sign it? Would you vote? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. To sign the promotional form, I need a motion from the board.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Next item of business is reviewing and signing the register. Our financial register for this week, we had 8 hours of police department overtime, 12 hours of fire department overtime, no highway overtime. We had payroll in the amount of $28,544.64. We had accounts payable in the amount of $30,920.61. We had an ACH payment to Swayze of $181,000 and an ACH payment to the co-op of $585,237.
Oh, I did it right. I didn't read the names.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have recreation check?
Rec, right here. Has everybody signed rec? All right. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Oh, you too.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter.
I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Contained in today's consent agenda are public minutes from 3/28, non-public minutes from 3/28, the rec manifest, the treasurer's report, and building permits. Has everybody signed it? It's going around.
Consents going around and
Building permits.
going around.
Perfect.
Also going around.
Okay. As we discussed last week, after that routine business, we are going to move public comment up to this point in the meeting. Hopefully those who were interested were able to review the packet as we talked about last week. So this week, rather than a single page agenda, what was made available to the community included multiple discussion items for tonight. If there is any public comment on those agenda items, I'll take that now. I will ask, we've gotten some comments from the public that they cannot hear the public commenters on the video. So if people are willing to come forward, and maybe we can use one of the mics, I think that would improve the communication with the town. They can hear our side, but they often can't hear the public's side. So if people are willing to come forward, we're continuing to work on our AV issues. Lois, do you want to come forward?
I would like to start by saying thank you. This is terrific.
Great.
I was able to get it, read it, come up with questions. Unfortunately, one question, you look at it, then a question comes, and probably a lot of them will be answered when you get to the agenda. I would gather that.
Yep.
But just briefly, I have a couple of, the building permit for Rockingham County, is that, the background here, the background, is that something where they've already asked us, and how did we get to that point? I guess that's my question.
We've discussed this at 2 separate meetings, I believe, before tonight. Rockingham County asked us to waive the town of Brentwood doing their building permit and give them a waiver to allow the fire marshal's office to do that. And our last action item was to confirm with the fire marshal's office whether they were willing and able to do that. And tonight, the action item will be to vote on how we are moving forward with that issue.
That's what I would, let's see. On the new form that you have, I see in there for the committees, there was a form. How do you handle that? It used to be the chairman of the committee made an appointment. So with that form, do you want us just to, if you want to be on the committee, you fill out that form, we give that to you, and then you vote on it?
I think we're going to talk about that later tonight, but that's the process we're interested in doing, yes.
And really the most interesting one of all is the cemetery. I think, and my only question is, it says that we will get our remains returned. My question is, how did they get the remains in the first place? I think
we'll get some information about that.
That'll be answered at the time. Yes, it said permit is required for us to have our remains returned to us. I thought that was the grand information.
Other public commenters? Betty? Yeah, I think that's what, you can kind of move it towards the edge of the table if you want.
Letty Bedard, Middle Road, speaking as a private citizen, not as a member of any board I'm on. With regard to the Rockingham County permit process, I can understand why having the state fire marshal do the inspections would make sense given the size of the project and the size of our department. I would hesitate to have the permit go not through us because my understanding of town ordinance is that any impact fee assessment can only happen if there's a permit. So that would be something to consider when making that decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments? Come on up.
Jim Hazard, 33 Mohawk Lane. Again, what you said, thank you so much for putting all the details in there. It's really helpful, more information, but and doing this first, thank you, as I said last time. Just quickly, I wanted to let you know that I know Dexter's talking later about capital improvements, and I saw what he put in there, but I was at their open house on Saturday, and it was really awesome. I had a really good time. But while I was there was a father and his kids were with him, and he had a young daughter, and she had to go to the bathroom, and she was there. And I know, like, I had this awkward feeling, and I know my wife did too. We're all like, ooh, because the bathroom is really weird in that building, right? And I'm thinking, this poor little kid's gonna go in there. And anyway, so I'm just telling you, I think it's a really good use of this federal money, and I think we should support the Historical Society, and I just saw that happen on Saturday. I wanted to share that. And the only other thing I was gonna ask is on the board reappointments. Is this for like if we have an opening an open position where we're gonna advertise, whatever, if someone has been doing it for a while and wants to continue doing it, are you planning on, like, will you accept the chairman's recommendation to keep that person? Or is this for every position or just the ones that are open?
I think that's one of our discussion points as a board is how to utilize that process.
Because I'll just share, I know Methuen, I mean, even here, if someone's doing a really good job and the chairman wants to keep them, I think we should keep them on. And I mean, I understand we want to get more people involved, but I think as openings pop up, as they will, then we do the process and get the forms. But I hope that you're not going to make people have to like reapply who've done a good job. That's not how we did it in Methuen. It definitely was, as openings came up, you kind of would then fill out the form and it would be reviewed by the mayor. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? come on up.
I'm just going to follow up on Jim. Becky Dunham, speaking as Becky Dunham, 9 Block Drive. The application process, I think it was good for the creation of a new committee, and I thought that was the original intent of creating this. If some resident came up with an idea for a new committee, you went through this process. You're now doing this for existing committees and people who are already, that's the change you're going to make.
That's what we're discussing, how to manage all committee appointments in the town.
Okay. Is the communications committee going to be involved in that discussion at all?
They created that
Oh,
form.
I know that, but their intent was for new committees. So just a question about that, if that's how it's going to be used. Okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Other comments? All right, seeing none, we will end public comment and move on. We have follow-up business, the first being the building permit for Rockingham County. I had some discussions with Karen about this in terms of really needing to understand the laws and regulations of how the county and the town interface with each other, as well as the history here. And Karen, if I can turn over to you to clarify some of what we have learned about how this works pertaining to impact fees.
So historically, the county has applied for building permits. They have not been charged a fee for any of their projects so far. I reached out to the State Fire Marshal's office, and they have confirmed.
Can I just ask you to speak up?
They have confirmed that they are willing to accept jurisdiction and be the building official for the town once they receive a letter from the town requesting that they do so. As far as impact fees, a governmental entity undertaking its governmental function is exempt from municipal zoning, and the premise works across all jurisdictions, which would include the county. So the impact fee ordinance is a zoning ordinance. So the county would be exempt as long as what they are doing and what they're constructing falls under the responsibilities of their governmental function. And that is determined by case law. There was a lawsuit, McGrath versus Manchester in 1973, that established that municipalities and counties are exempt from their own zoning.
So this clarifies the question of why other towns and our town had not collected impact fees from the county in the past. We are unable to do so by New Hampshire judicial rulings, which I think in some ways makes the decision before this board a more simple decision. So the main issue we have before us tonight is this board comfortable with giving Rockingham County a waiver to allow the fire marshal, or would this board prefer to see this go through Kip Kaiser and through the Brentwood permitting process? So I'll open it up for discussion or a motion.
I think Kip pretty much said a couple weeks ago that the project was too big for him alone. So I would say if the fire marshal's office is willing to do it, to grant them authority to do it. Because I don't think we should stretch Kip out to the fact that he can't. Other town business that's actually bringing in revenue.
Other comments?
This, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying then, Karen, is that the McGrath case, regardless of whether it was issued through KIP or issued through the fire marshal's office, that they'd still be exempt from paying anything?
That is my understanding.
And so who gave us that source for the McGrath case?
This I got from Glenn Greenwood. If you want to pass that around. Sorry.
Have we asked an HMA or town council about for second opinion on it?
So I reached out to council about the building permit process, and they said that we could charge, they're not exempt from a building permit process, they're exempt from following zoning. So that's the difference there. So they don't have to follow any of our local zoning rules.
But how does that pertain with regard to the impact fee? Are we able to charge the impact fee, or are you
The
saying that
impact fee is a zoning rule.
The impact fee ordinance is a zoning rule, so they are exempt from having to follow that ordinance, is the way Glenn interpreted.
Is the case law, if you wanna.
Maybe we can have you look at the case
On the
law
spot.
and see what you think. Yeah, not, on the spot legal counsel.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm not entirely, comfortable. Judge McHugh for the plaintiffs. Ken McHugh. Just one of the lawyers who became a judge. Yeah, I'm not entirely comfortable, reading this on the spot. It seems to me that we ought to, have counsel review that to just, make sure, because I'm uncomfortable giving up that kind of impact, fee. I mean, just looking at the statute, it seems to permit us to use the fire marshal's office, and that seemed to make sense, but the statute also talks about utilization of the fire marshal through our building permit, which at least suggested to me, and I think maybe Letty as well, that the fees would be something that we could still charge for.
I think we could charge a fee to issue a building permit, correct?
We could, yes.
Which historically we haven't.
Correct.
So like when they did the nursing home renovation and KIP was involved in that, we did not charge the county a fee. I think based on historical precedence of that relationship. So my understanding is we could charge them that fee, which is a relatively small dollar value, right? Or it's a percentage or something.
It's based off of square footage.
It's a percentage. But we could not, the big number that people have been interested in trying to recoup from the county
40,000.
is impact fees. And what we are being told by our town planner per that, ruling is that we would be unable to collect impact fees from the county no matter what we decide tonight. But if this board feels more comfortable confirming that with legal counsel before we make a vote, that is certainly a motion that could be made.
Yeah, and I'm happy to review this case, but I'm not, gonna review it and make a decision on the spot, so, no.
I mean, I guess the question is, if KIP doesn't really have the bandwidth to do this, that's also a deciding factor, but then there's the impact fee, and they both are important factors to consider.
Right. Yeah, see, I thought the question was whether or not if we transferred the jurisdiction over to the state marshal's office, whether we could charge the impact fee
Yeah, I
at
think
all.
we can't.
Well, I know that's what Glenn is saying, but.
No, I think even if we could, my understanding is if we don't issue the permit, we couldn't collect impact fees even if it was feasible, I think is, right? You have to be the issuer of the permit.
I think we still have to issue the permit, it's just that the fire marshal's office is the one that will be doing the inspections.
Oh, okay, so maybe we just say on the permit that that's who's executing it?
The email from.
It made it sound like they are
District
issuing it.
Chief Byron said that he would be doing the plan review, permit issuance, and follow-through inspections.
I think we are waiving our right to permit, was my understanding.
Is there a timing issue if we wait another week?
2 weeks, will be.
Potentially, I mean, it will be impactful on the county project because they're looking to start April 1st. Well, they were looking to start April 1st, so we've already set them back a little bit. Right, and then it's 2 more weeks before the fire marshal's office will even begin plan review.
We could make a motion that if that's confirmed by town council, if the board was comfortable, rather than waiting 2 weeks, or we could hold, whatever you guys feel comfortable with.
Is it the majority of the board's position that you would be wanting to charge the impact fee and impose that fine?
I think walking away from the impact fee is not in the best interest of the town. That's my 2 cents.
But I think if our town planner is saying that we can't charge it, I don't think spending more town money on a legal opinion from town council is the wisest idea of spending our reduced budget either. I mean, we look to Glenn for everything. If he's saying, don't do it,
And I remember, Karen, when we were talking, you were not aware of any time that impact fees had been charged to the county.
We've never charged the county anything.
So historically, we have not done this.
Because I look back through it to see if we've had them file building permits historically, and they filed one for their last renovation when they did the nursing home renovations, and kept all of those permits free of charge, basically. We didn't recoup any of those fees.
So the way they're doing it now is just a cost.
No different than past practice.
Would not.
Right, it's
Probably cost saving.
That's what I'm.
Right.
He's not gonna get
And they won't be, the contract amount that the commissioner talked about last time, that they had negotiated something with them.
I mean, I do recall Kip being uncomfortable with the idea of doing the project, so it's unfortunately we don't have the resources like as a town because we are kind of at a skeleton level staff.
I just read this, and it's pretty clear on the point, Karen. I mean, the only thing I want to just check, which I try to do while this about, is that it's a 1973 case. Yeah, it's old. So I'd just like to see if there's any update on it, but I mean, it is clear on the point. So, if anyone else wants to read it.
Would you see it as a board till the next meeting? Do we want
Well,
to,
let's move it to the bottom of the agenda and give,
or we can recess a little bit?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's move it.
I don't get a strong
Pause
sense,
for now.
I certainly don't get a strong sense that we have a real choice.
Well, I mean, I trust our town planner who tells us where our hands are tied here. And I understand the awkwardness of being the county seat and the fact that we do not recoup everything from these buildings. I mean, some projects, but tax exempt circumstances, and that is frustrating for people who live in Brentwood. I get that, but if our hands are tied legally, there's not a whole lot that we can. So we'll table this for right now and come back to it before we. Next is board reasons. We talked about prior meetings. You on our current what openings are potentially discuss the process. We had previously discussed the reappointment, the promotional interest by our communication, and I think we should discuss as a board sort of our intentionality about this. I agree it was specifically created to help us create the energy committee, but I think we've talked about the board, we to give public transparency to apply as they come up. I think relative to comment, we do need to discuss the board if to apply to open positions where people have decided no longer interested, or whether we want to apply to all positions that come for term.
Well, that language that was in notes or viewed recently for this discussion topic. There's some sort of blurb, there's some sort of guidance that's either.
Oh, that was from
It's
the
from
board handbook that was last updated in 2021.
Do we have, I mean, can we look at that?
I have that still from that, or it's in the board packet from last week. Essentially, it describes a process that if your board has following seriously.
I totally change it, figure out what.
Just wait. Blurb of the responsibility it came to. I don't know for, I guess you, I guess the board was updated. I don't know section.
Yes, but I don't ever talk about
That section is older than edit.
it actually should be updated every board.
I could put that on the agenda to take a look at. It was here, you can't really tell what has been updated in the most recent, update of that. This is the Select Board Operational Guidelines and Handbook. It is a handbook that's given to all new Select Board members. It is not something that you sign, like a contract. It is more informal in under section independently under section R, appointment of town officials. And this was before we had changed the name. So it refers to an act appointing authority for town officials, including employees, members of committees, and to vacancies in some elected offices. Often these appointments have long implications, much the same way as the president appoint a to the Supreme Court, with an emphasis on local consequences. In making decisions by majority vote, the board should always discuss individual qualifications in a public setting that are subject to future elections. In case discussions done in public, all application materials are subject to public disclosure. Decisions to appoint be made based primarily on qualifications, experience, track record, and ideology, even when considering reappointments. So I think that does kind of weigh into some of the public about whether this is for reappointments, initial appointments. And if anyone wants to reference that, it's here.
Yeah, I think that's fine with me, as long as we just follow the.
I think the potential benefit for doing it for reappointments is that there's a every year, maybe the background or the longevity of people on different committees. I think that obviously someone who has served well for many years has a chance of getting appointed, but I think we also might consider using this process for everyone, giving the town an opportunity for open positions as they come up. So I'd like everything.
Yeah.
Hear what
That's okay. So if using this for commissions, could these town officials exempt the fire chief, agent, treasurer, health, those are positions that need to be appointed, and those are positions that require more training that goes into it as to and jump into it that way.
But there's always opportunity for this board to weigh in on those
Oh, yeah,
positions,
for sure.
no matter what. So.
Right, it's not wrong.
I think if you
because some of it say not reappoint
Sorry,
somebody.
if there's a serious
Right.
issue that comes up, is where I'm going. But yes, I agree.
A non-reappointment would be a employee.
right. I think to Karen's point, if you have a statement of interest specifically says on the membership about specifically clear that this only applies to appointed committees
Unelected.
or vacancies in an elected committee, right? Because occasionally, like if somebody steps off the planning board, this board would have to potentially reach out for interest. Yes, I think it'd be clear that this is not employees. While we do need to discuss appointment of employees in non-public, I think we need to be, this is for subcommittees that are appointed and not elected committees and elected vacancy. So we can change the wording.
So,
Please.
Are we talking vacancies, or are we talking when a term's up required?
The elected vacancy
Elected vacancy, so
or the term is up.
I'd like to see it for the term being up. I think we will have a reappointment. That is fine. I think interested was made in the deal of the board and the chair of the board in terms of what the president seeing happen. But I think in terms of trying to get to be fully transparent, I think every time somebody terms out, we should give the opportunity to apply. I don't know how much it's been done sort of out of the eye. I don't think that's transparency.
Well, the interest level will get worse when they find out that they're just one term or another and the consideration. Problem, we do have, and it's not always obviously it's not necessarily a negative. We do have people in this serving on boards, and I don't mean you. And sometimes great benefit, perhaps it is best, but it not. I'll tell you that.
And do you want to use this for alternates on board as well, or strictly members? Or do you want to the board?
If we need a document for someone on board, they should be part of it.
There's some incentive having a concept up before, they're doing it on an annual basis. And I feel like if I've
Most of the terms are 3 years.
you know,
I think, I mean, the form, why is it attached? It's not a lift that board can turn over, you know, over time. And I think if there's somebody that's on the committee for 10 years, new boards may not have that person's qualifications, and it's really helpful to know who's on our boards. It would be a good sort of transparency process. I would hope it's not a laborious enough. It would advise people continuing on a board that they're enjoying being. I don't think it. When we did this committee, we had 9 applicants for 2 weeks, and none of them said that they thought it was a laborious process.
And so do that,
Yep.
like, if a term expires, the months.
Correct. The policy approved was that any open position would be posted for 30 days, correct? So you have to, there was an upcoming turnover, we would, 2 months or so.
Well, it wouldn't be a turnover necessarily,
Or an
it'd be an open.
An opening, or a term, someone terming.
60 or 90 days.
And so I think we can do separate discussions. We want to sort of, we're not implementing as it kind of is our policy, but I think adjusting the stuff in our select board manual to specifically say that we are going to use this application process, it's going to be public, put the 30 days, just do it, and then so I make that decision. Then we have some specific decisions to make in terms of the people who are termed or open seats right now, but we'll discuss that after we. So I'm hearing consensus that this.
Accepting it, but the motion to fit. I'm willing to motion to fit whatever.
Specifically adjust the board. Did we have a second?
It's mine. I would
his
like to
motion.
offer to alter it based on
Alter
something I heard from my neighbor,
I'll second.
and he'll second.
Perfect.
I just alter it to state what?
So this statement
What
here
Jen
about should consider this and not including to just add a paragraph to this that says this process will be done using a statement of interest. We will investigate termed officials or positions 60 to 90 days in advance. We will publicize widely that there are openings. We will give people days, which is the policy we decided on, apply, and then we will discuss in non-public and make decisions, and to flesh out in this board manual exactly this new process we would like to use.
Do 90 days.
I think.
It gives
that
extra
way
time.
It gives extra time that time to, and case someone's, and then you
I
can.
like that.
90's in the motion.
Just came up with that number.
Perfect.
Any feedback about this before? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And that passes. In terms of, we have in the board packet the terms that are currently there. Positions, just go through those. We made some temporary appointments to allow for people to implement this protocol.
First name.
First, is, you clarify, because I was a little confused when I saw this, whether, are you serving on the ZBA as a full member or
I am a
a representative?
You're
Rep?
and to your left.
Yeah.
I can tell you probably, but I actually the ZBA.
I guess I'm, because that would be the thing that happens with planning board, for example. Paul's going to be our planning board rep, he is going to be a voting member.
Mhm.
So in the town report, it lists you as
Mhm.
not
I was here for select.
correct.
And then somehow I got myself elected to the zoning board. Sat on the select board,
Okay,
and the attorney said, no, that's bad.
right.
True. We never, like the same conversation with Paul before.
Okay,
Could have remained on seat or be the rep, but you couldn't have.
got it. Okay,
So Russ would be as a select rep,
Rep.
and then be
An open seat.
a vacant.
1, 2, 5 people alternate.
So-
So we got to clean this up a little
So
bit,
then-
I think.
No longer a voting member,
Was
but the members. And it's not recommend select being a ZBA. Select board that issues.
Right.
And then and disagrees with the decision, they would go to the ZBA.
Is the discussion we've had
Right,
before,
so you
right?
have to
I
recuse
vote-
yourself as a voting member of the ZBA
Yes.
in one of those instances.
Yes, brought up multiple times during the last year, just for the record. But, so, need to say, I'm not the outcome.
so
And this CBA is elected,
They're appointed.
they're appointed.
Yeah.
If we move Russ to a non-select board rep, line up with these other committees, we would then have an opening
Yes.
on that committee. And a opposition from you, in fact, that way. Okay. Okay. I probably good for us to have that actual, and I think to do it kind of up, it makes it hard to have on other like school.
can I combine to
Please.
move that we appoint Kathy St. Hilaire to July 1st, 23.
Kathy has received a seat.
Oh.
Today, and she is
So-
not interested in being reappointed.
So now we have an opening, okay.
So we have two openings.
You have two openings.
Okay.
She's biking in the outer room.
So I'll move that
She doesn't care.
we accept Kathy's resignation. And as a longtime serving employee member of boards involved. And have two open positions in the ZBA. Move Russ Kelly, non-voting board rep.
Sounds like we're all in favor of cleaning that up a little bit. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I believe I have to abstain, right? Since I'm-
You can abstain. Okay. And Paul, you're an aye? Yep. Okay, so that passes. So we will post two open ZBA day application. The next group on here is recreation. We have 2 people who just termed a month, and then we have 2 that are coming up in December. And so, willingness for continue to serve, or
Tammy is willing to for 3 years. Valerie Rogers is an alternate for an
are they alternate terms, or are they what she's willing to do?
that is what to do.
But, so that goes back to the position of people should be and not.
I'm just curious about if anybody is definitely resigning. I think it's helpful for them to know.
Jessica Duffy is resigning,
Okay.
or she's not interested in being reappointed.
So if Jessica is interested, should we extend Tammy's role so that we can then post this? Technically, she termed out probably that
She termed
last
out in
week.
March. So do you want to extend her term through the end of June? For 90 days?
Well,
Menopause
technically, we don't early. I mean, do we want to do 90 days or do we want to do 30? It's discussion. We could do 90, just to stick with what we previously discussed.
To get through.
Okay. How does it feel about sort of a temporary position for people that are caught in this discussion? Have a motion for
Motion to extend.
For 30 days? 90 days.
July 31st.
let's do like
July
90.
July 31st?
So
Well, it's April,
May, June,
July. April, May, June.
so
July
June.
1st.
July 1st. Okay. And have 2 potential openings.
On that one or no?
Yeah, I just want to add this motion, extend or post for 2 open positions, and then mine's 3 before December. So we need to have 2 more for alternates. Are you comfortable with adding that?
Yep.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Like,
Aye, and that is passed.
so summarizing rec, we need 2,
We need 2 now.
and
One is going to be open now because of the nation.
and
temporarily
McNeil is, to when?
Do we need to modify this for
The end date.
for the 10th appointment that we just voted on? Once that's committee discussion is communication.
So the communications subcommittee was established in May, and they were 7 members that were all given 1-year terms. They are all knee-deep in doing memos and trying to transition to a website. So would the board be interested in reappointing these 7 members for 6 months, or if they can finish the project?
We do, we can try.
How about we split the board? Board expire at the same time.
1 year, I think, just kind of as an experiment, how this committee worked.
Right.
Yeah.
How are we gonna do that? I mean, I don't disagree with you, but
I don't know.
Or how about we table this board, and let's see what they want to do. They can discuss it at their next meeting and then come back with some sort of what.
Yeah.
Makes there. I heard unofficially that some of those members in terming, but that are really working on the website might expire for now.
already,
We at least expect by the end of April. Oh, okay.
discuss that at our, you know when the next communications meeting is?
How many weeks?
Letty, do
2
you know?
weeks?
2 weeks?
Are they meeting on the 13th? I think they usually meet on the second Thursday.
Yeah, because I have
We
the
met
So next,
13th.
so that would be maybe a board, they'd like terms, and then we
Yeah.
can discuss it the fall, because we will have a meeting on the 18th.
Start speaking on the communications committee, or also this, if plan was to have the community continue website, and if so,
I'm assuming that has happened at that level.
we're,
I didn't know that was a.
I mean, I think initial idea to get some help with communication, with the Facebook page, with the website. I would think we probably would want to see this committee continue for a few years, especially if we have to work out bugs with website and how we're communicating with the public. But certainly I would defer somewhat to that group who's been doing the work in terms of what they feel. But personally, I would see it.
Where you have a Facebook, which is phenomenal, and cool stuff that they've done, very important stuff they've done. But the big, who knows what might come, communication, improving communication, at least another, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Coming from the dark ages.
Letty, if you pass along to hear the opinion from, and have a rep come to our meeting on the 18th, kind of give us a summary of those discussions. Perfect. Right. Wonderful. That'd be great. And then if we can plan to stagger terms, that would seem to be the most sensible. Okay. Those, I believe, Karen, were the only positions in terms of board where Paul being down as a member and being the select board member, that technically counts as an elected vacancy. Would we do this same process for that vacancy?
One has to be held
In public.
not in non-public, so in public.
Is that appointed by us or the plan?
About the plan.
Well, question, I mean, policy, this board does that appointment, and we do the appointments.
There's, there's gotta be an RSA about this.
I think statutorily, I think the
Definitely
planning board
has
does
to.
it.
You think who does it?
I think by statute, I think the planning board.
So let's clarify the statute before we make any decisions there.
I know, name is escaped, resigned, and then we had appointed Mark.
Yeah, historically, that's how it's been done. Yeah.
I'm assuming that must have been.
Officially,
To do.
Daphne would need a letter so that she can file it.
Sign your name. Okay, so we will just clarify the statute and obviously defer to that. If it has through, if by statute it has to be the plan, we need to further amend this because it specifically says here that that would be our purview. So we adjust that to match if the statute says that. Perfect. So we'll bump that to next. So we'll
Andy, for December,
we'll wait and see the
wondering.
it says. If the statute says it's complete purview of the planning board, then that's the planning board how they process. All right. Any further comments? I think we have closed. Next, public comments. Discussion action items. We have Joyce for the Doe project. Come on up. Sounds like there's lots of questions, intrigue. So you have
Having, I'm here partly for New Hampshire for our cemetery, and also I had to write 130 words of a quick synopsis, and that too. So to start with, in December of 1999, mingled remains of 5 people in the disintegrated during the removal of the residents. These remains may represent burial at Core Farm. To 1868. Town of Brown, working in collaboration with anthropologists from UNH, forensic biology, identification, and complete of the remains in association with research. The analysis is instrumental for Town of Brentwood to offer a dignified and honorable burial of our misplaced. So that's just a long one. Our remains are since 1999, they were at UNH, since spring of 22, under the authority of the state medical examiner. And in order for us to get them to do our burial, we need a burial. But per se, no or release of our remains. We just can't go to you and say, yeah, we want our remains back, and they'll go, here you go. This is first state. Moving remains within a cemetery, no problem. We know who these people are, we move them. If you're moving an entire cemetery, no problem, we know who they are, you can. Is what you're doing. So to medical remains, state archaeology said no way, we do issue burial permits. Where they're not forensic, they're historical, medical examiner has said, I'm not really sure I can issue the burial permit. Me to Vital Records. Vital Records said, yep, we can issue you a burial permit, but we need to know who your remains are. And at this point, we really don't know who these remains are. We need to establish an idea of at least one of those commingled remains with the hopes that then we can get them all back. So what we're doing, sorry.
Can I ask you, when the accidentally up, assuming this was not kind of cemetery or family cemetery, it was
Some residence.
just at a residence. Okay.
It was disinterred in a pile of fill. The fill went to another town. The people in the other town went, They did the right thing. They called the state police. State police called the medical examiners. They came down, put it all in evidence. The medical examiner since 1999. In an effort to establish the idea of one of the remains and hope that they all get returned, they're actually with the UNH Anthropology Lab for historical information of farm, and then to establish an ID via genetic genealogy. We would like to retain the services of the Doe project. The UNH professor who has been working with remains, we worked with the Doe project to solve cold cases. Mainly the case that they worked were the barrels in Allenstown. So this is kind of a big deal. Both entities, UNH and DNA Doe, know each other. They've worked together. They have a really good collaboration. Now you're going, who knows? A non-profit uses investigative genealogy to identify unidentified remains. I'm doing it from 2017. They've been a organization, law enforcement agents, medical examiners across North America, helping them with their difficult cases. The cutting-edge techniques that DNA is from or high, low quality DNA. So they get from all over that good, bad, whatever, really good success. Their commitments on remains go on due to the independent community with the lab work, the mathematics, or the genealogy necessary to them. Have a donate program where qualifying agents, which is the town of can take their special investment techniques. Finance, publicizing department, which is totally at our disposal. DNA Doe projects all year research are made up of investigative
genealogist industry. I'm the concept of reuniting with their family communities. So you're saying, all right, great, why are you? You need the names in order to permit. That's the bottom line. For to get the, which is what you need to do, I suggest genealogy would be the logical choice, and to retain the services of DNA Doe is highly recommended. I had a meeting with its professional and the DNA Doe case manager. All this between election and meeting. The DNA Doe manager said she's going to run our case by the director. It was pretty darn sure that they would accept the case. And I asked her at the meeting, I said, well, what do we need to do as the next step? And she said, well, you tell me whether you want to do it. And I said, yeah, I want to do it. So everything that I do with them is verbal. In order to continue the process, DNA has requested as an affiliation / to go with our paper and estimates, completing with contacts and complete with authorization and contact names. And I've had the discussion here because with the town, I'm requesting the authorizing and myself would be contact touch base. Once all that is established, DNA Doe will say, okay, great. Send their as well in terms of some policies. We would go through it. We mean historical, cemetery, youth, anybody who wants to review their work that's a contract, memorandum of understanding, what offer, what expect, what do we expect. Once that is done, all the signatures are signed, I send it back to them, and then we start fundraising. The part about it is, as we start the fundraising, we have a director of development. She put together a plan for fundraising that can be plotted. The effort to do this, and it's something that I have to wait, but they with UNH is how for we have DNA in it, the hair with a root, we have bone, and we have tooth. It would be either one or three of those. Or if all three, just one would be $5,000. It could be that each sample we send is $5,000. I think if all come from the same, it would be the $5,000 all three. So that's something that's still a little bit iffy. We're not really sure. But once we have our signatures with our contact authorization, then information send us an send us the memorandum of understanding, and they just take off with the fundraiser, send it to us. They have sent me some information on how they do their fund. If anybody's had a chance to the DNA Doe program, I highly recommend it. I do believe that their website is DNADoeProject.org. They just did one that's over. They disinterred a cemetery, they moved it, and oops, they forgot. So when they do some more, and they found one, they've actually identified it, and that was recent. Again, this is something the state's not come up against. As we're doing more and more projects within the state, we're doing more development, this could happen again. We're setting precedent for years. So it is somewhat of a big deal. This is the UNH Alumni Magazine. You guys can see a bunch of stuff, and there's an article on what is pictures, and I can getting copies if they want. I remain. The grad students on it are in here. There's pictures, and we are on. But their goal is their goal historical research on the poor farm, to do a study, and it will be the backup for what we have for what they're going to do the tree for. We have a couple of names. I've done some of the research that keep getting mentioned. Whether these who are interred and we have there, I don't know. Genetic. So basically, on behalf of the Center for Historical, the authorizing contact it's not taxpayers anymore. It comes up, they're at, they said it's in town, it can be within the coast, it can be within New Hampshire, it can be regional New England, or they're going to on DNA on the website. And so we can be pulling humanities. There might be other places in this country that want to.
The project held until the dollar figure was raised.
So what their thought is that if we can at least get the first 5,000, because that's their estimate, once that is raised, they will contact UNH and send us a picture of your remains. We'll send to this lab. The lab will start, and the ball just gets rolling. I think where the money goes is to genetic tree. As far as the, I think that's kind of pro bono, but as far as the genetic tree is what the money is for. And they will keep working at until they find an answer. I know I've been going on their website, and there's some that are old. Some of the sites, the people they're looking for are old. And there's the one that was in Maine was from 2017, and they did it pretty quick.
So interesting. From board members?
So I'm confused, the $5,000, which may be $1,000, is not something allocated or is raised as, I'm just.
It's all grassroots. It's all going to be through their fundraising group. It's not anything, I'm not asking the town officially to help fund. The funds can come from people who want to donate from the town. It's going to be like a QR, whatever. But also a national campaign across the country. Say, wow, cool, like somebody who's into humanities, historical places. I've seen some of that donate, and it's sometimes big companies that just really do. So DNA Doe mainly works with law enforcement. They like in a couple of these stories. One, they said a really good one. UNH has said that they might be able to kick in a couple donation funds. Their goal is to give back to the communities. And this is a really good feel-good story for UNH, especially the anthropology lab, especially where they're on the front page.
So interesting. Do you get a sense from them that when they've done fundraising that they had pretty good success? Like they anticipate the fundraising will not be a battle?
I think at least getting 5,000 is going to be a problem. I have contacts with them. I have UNH. I have contacts with a woman who's the program. Public, and she's like, if you find out, let me know. I'm going to see if you will blast it. Fritz Weatherby could be one that we, so I know it's like a small thing and some, yeah, whatever. I think we need a feel-good story for Brentwood and offer this, what it is. It's getting our dearly departed back. So what is going to do is study almshouses. Why were these people there? How did it happen that these people are there? None of these people who passed away, they had poor by the bone, arthritis, lack of teeth. It's going to be a study in anthropology for UNH. They're probably going to write a paper, and then we're going to have that history that will go with the Historical Society.
That's so interesting. And would we for the in Tonry, or
yeah, that's the goal, is to actually have them return. I worked with a funeral, and that's where this came from. Is he's like burial permits, and I'm like, nope, I don't. So he's willing to work with us. We need to be grassroots fundraising, but I did mention that what you need, I might be able to do this pro bono. So it would be something we would do at Tonry.
Cool. Hard work on it. It's a really
and thank you to the. I think the Historical Society too, a lot of what I was from the Historical Society work that they've done and the research, going through all our books to get stuff, archives. It's all your town, so.
Cool. Great project. And something you just wouldn't really even know about. It's like this whole world going on that you might not know about.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, Karen, designer on this project. Second.
Any board discussion? Sounds like a win-win. Favor? And I'm an aye, so thank you.
Can I just say, the cemetery, this started off as like, thought, feel good, we're gonna put a on Reeve, and then it turned into, honest to God, way beyond the building. The superintendent, and she is all, and like, this is a done. So again,
Thank you.
all of us, really, she's done a job.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joy.
All right. Next, Extra Space Society Capital Improvement Request.
Evening. That's 4201 Road, Brentwood. I'm president of the Brentwood Historical Society. I'm here to request some capital improvements to the Historical Society building, which is a town building. And I'll just read a short piece here. The Grange Building is the Brentwood Historical Society. It is the only town-owned building without a well or septic system. There is presently only an incinerating toilet and portable rain barrel for summer rain that relies on the department to come and fill for us. The Brentwood Society Board of Directors are in favor of pursuing these basic grades and would like to request the application of available ARPA funds for these projects to improve this town buildings and needs. Are the projections and costs. Drilled well, pump and tank, 15.5. That on that sanitary one, I think they put it in. Holding, again, I think a tank, if we, the lot is small, really about can go, or septic can go, your own well, and then the abutter's well. So the lot is probably too small to have a septic field there. So we're kind of looking at just a holding tank that would be pumped out every two, whatever their estimates were. And that I put 1,000 for that. And again, that was just an estimate from my standpoint. An ADA wheelchair bathroom, sink, and vanity. We already have a room. There is the bathroom, and it just has a toilet in there. There's no sink or anything. So that's the toilet, $250. I suggested a hot water. There's no sense heating hot water whenever it's something that's used all the time. But if somebody needs it, there would be hot water and stuff. I think it would be the cheapest thing. Safety bars for accessibility for chairs on a chair. It's necessary in a wheelchair, but easier. Also, for grain material, and that would go from the main grain to its own. So it's only like dining room. That would make the entire building, first floor and second floor, accessible for wheelchair, but also for anybody that's using a walker or rollator, etc. And I put down plumber, 1,000, electrician, 100, for 16. That's just an estimate. And I also want to say, the units and the compressors work one. You guys for us and stuff. Made the place much more comfortable, much more. It's much quieter. This doesn't go on, and now the second is put it that way. I can't wait for August.
Work is totally completed?
Yes. The electrical is all done too, so. I'm just gonna throw this out. Every time it rains, it puddles. And we had open house this last day, rainy, Paul was door. It's constant there on parking, accessibility for getting into the building. I don't know if it needs kind of grade something. And then the department comes in the winter to plow. It just, you can see the pile of dirt is at the, so the hole gets getting deeper. So I'm just
Comments from this request?
My only comment, I would like to see better increased dramatically since we did the cemetery well, so I think well over 5 to a well. Board of confirm as in
yeah, and the time of me getting done, it was to this opportunity to get it done, and otherwise, might be back next year. Tax stuff, do that. Is it so willing to go and get the numbers? Again, my emphasis was these are estimate costs and stuff, which I got stuff and the stuff, but
I'm glad that you're and comfortable, so I think that's great. My personal is addressing so that's my top priority for unused funds.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why potentially both, you know, in terms of at the library and like that. I guess we need hard, and then I see the hard numbers from where I said, you know, but really, source for the is fairly in there, and something everyone should go to. Connect.
I was thinking of when I read this request is I had submitted it, but new 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, and there was a discussion of the town's capital improvement plan. We probably sort of read the process, use that document as a live document around planning. For example, we got caught up by surprise a little bit about $168,000 for radios for fire, right? That wasn't on a capital improvement. So while I am absolutely not opposed to this, I having just the ARPA last week, really board in conjunction with and we had officially agreed at that meeting to really look at our overall capital improvement plan, all time, everything that's up so that we, what is it, lost 270 of ARPA left that we decide by, you know, what, months, that we sure what our priority order is, how much everything's going to cost, because we may have money to do our, you know, top 4 and maybe be in the top, but to me it's a tiny bit premature, given I think we really need that and kind of reinvigorate that process and really figure out what's on there, and do we have capital reserve funds, surprise like the
radios. So see if we can get a slightly better ballpark cost and to the list on and as a with the BudCom to on that prioritize. And clearly a building that has a Noel, I mean, you could argue it should go on the priority list. I think some people would higher, right?
Yeah.
But I think we need to be real and real strategic or make the right decision that we have by next December, right?
Per discussion, I think, Thursday at 7, I believe, is meeting the planning board.
Correct.
To specifically talk about the capital improvement.
Correct.
So
That's
just,
this.
yes.
Yeah.
So is that a time when I,
Just if you want more information about the capital improvement plan that she's referring to,
And I get this project on improvement plan, right? Because I think when we're looking for ARPA use, it makes the most sense if this board has decided with some public agreement that we'd like to see that money used for capital improvements. I think we need to do that in a very transparent, above board, community involved way between the BudCom and the select board. And so I think that project is not the right now. Have you heard of the town?
no.
Get sort of if it's really key, the planning board vote this and then through because we have Soul, Swayze, library, this, we have fire radios, you name it. I think the BudCom was very interested in reinvigorating that process, using that as a real planning tool. This and the BudCom don't get up by unintended capital needs. So I actually get a plan. We do need a slightly tighter number. Hopefully it really is going to be 35, but no, it might. But
Right.
reasonable to go through that process.
It's reasonable. This is kind of just to make the town aware that there is nothing.
Sure.
And people drive by it and don't, so, and there are, and I don't, my argument, not argument, but my push here, people there that work there, I over there, and
Sure.
So it's just, it's almost there, it's pretty darn close, and that's just a basic human that we're at. And Jim stole my thunder about that story about this young, it was nice, it was
Still your story.
It was nice, a young fellow in town, 2-year-old, and it was just potty training, so I'd be having, and I was like, hell,
Asterix.
well, she could, but she can't wash her hands afterwards. It's kind of embarrassing and stuff, so, and it is a town-owned building.
Sure.
So just like the school here, the fire department, the library, et cetera.
Yeah. Do you think as part of coming back with some numbers that we could answer those outstanding questions about will there be problems with the how will we septic?
And that's the big question about, can it fit in? If it can't, then it can't. But
maybe before this is a formal decision to have those pieces firmed up too.
Yeah. Okay. And I'll talk with Glenn again. Okay.
And I think Wayne may be able to help you with it to fix up your parking lot. Maybe a load of black pack or something.
His budget was cut.
He did it. Now he should fix it. No, I'm.
Budget was cut.
Okay.
All right.
Quite time and
Thank you
stuff,
so much.
and we appreciate the heat and the upcoming coolness in this.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Discussion item Last, that's under regular business, right? So we'll conclude with regular business. Erin, what do you have?
Deputy Forest Fire Warden form, Chief Burn, Nathan Richard being appointed as a fire warden. Allow him the opportunity to issue warnings.
And is this a job he's done previously?
No, Nathan is a new full-time firefighter to us last year.
Okay.
So this is the first.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Looks like we need 2 other signatures here.
And this is Form MS 232. This is a report of operations. So this operating budget has been adjusted based off of the reductions that you approved at the meeting.
So this is just the high-level budget with the specific changes
And the warrant articles,
that we
yes.
made. I'll take a motion to sign the report of appropriations.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. And then we already did the letter to the fire marshal.
Yeah, what do you want to readdress, whether you want to vote on that or whether you're comfortable with?
We're gonna let Paul research and go back to this.
Well, I was trying to do that during the meeting,
Right.
so I,
Do
yeah.
you want to take a 5-minute recess? and-
Well, no, I can't find anything that would be different than what,
Yeah,
you know, Glenn came up with, and it's unfortunate.
It certainly would fit with the historical precedence that creates that county-town friction that towns feel like they cannot recoup significant costs from the county. So you feel comfortable with accepting Glenn's guidance?
I mean, I went online and did some research and, you know, while we were
Thank you for doing that while we were
chatting.
talking.
Yeah, and, you know, I sort of looked, you know, did a search on subsequent, you know, case law that would follow this McGrath case, and, you know, there was nothing that was opposite to it. It seems to be controlling,
Okay.
as best I can tell.
Okay. So the discussion we had prior was that if there's no ability for us to charge those impact fees, my sense was the board felt more comfortable with granting this waiver as there's no financial loss to the town and the benefit is Kip's time not being tied up. Does anyone want to make a motion for us to sign this letter, which would officially give the New Hampshire State Fire Marshal jurisdiction over the new county complex?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. There was a grunt over there.
Not the most,
You're gonna put that face in that picture.
not the most enthusiastic.
Well,
I think it's a tough one.
There's no point.
I wasn't involved when we became the county seat, so I don't know how that all went down back 30 years ago or whatever it was, 25 years ago.
I think it was way more than that.
It was in the 90s when Brentwood became the county seat, I believe.
I don't think Andy was, that's before he was born.
Before your time.
Yeah.
Yep.
The county farm's been there and the nursing home's been there
Yes.
forever.
I think it was when the courthouse came here that we became the official county seat, which was in, I think,
Well, the
90.
courthouse is the state. It's not county. It's a state building.
True. Any other regular business you have for us?
Not for public
Nope.
session, no.
Board member, committee updates, or items to bring before the board? Andy?
I have about 6 more weeks of school, so I'm wondering if somebody can attend CONCON next week on Wednesday.
What time?
6:30.
I don't have the
I think
agenda
it's
yet.
6:30 on the second Wednesday.
Do you have what's the date?
Maybe Wednesday, the
12th?
The 12th.
12th.
Okay, I can go. Unless you want to.
I was thinking about it, but I appreciate you doing it, thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other updates from you, Andy?
I am good.
Okay. John?
Just from economic development. Thank you for everyone who attended yesterday. We had a good attendance at our meeting. May 8th, it's a Monday morning, 9 a.m. We're gonna have our first quarterly Brentwood business breakfast, and just encourage, it obviously open to the public, and encourage all to join us. We'll be putting flyers out, there'll be postcards. If you are planning to come, please sign up. Please just do a registration. We'd love town leaders to be there as well if that's something that's possible. May 8th, Monday, 9 a.m. We'll be at the rec.
How is that sign up accessible?
It will be publicly accessible by Friday. We'll have a QR code, we'll have a Google form, and then Jillian will have her email and phone number available for people who would prefer to register that
So we'll
way.
put that on Facebook and the website?
Yeah, that'll
Okay.
be requested.
Okay.
Then the community development seminar, whatever we want to call it, engagement seminar, will be for the rec. Will be May 12th and May 13th. It's a Friday and a Saturday. So there will be 3 sessions that I'll highlight right now. From 1:30 to 3 p.m. will be key community and business leaders who will be invited to join the discussion with the design professionals over at the rec. So please mark your calendars if you're able to come. 1:30 to 3. We'll be making personal invitations. If you have any questions about it, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or again Jillian Benedict's in the planning board office. From 3:30 to 5, and then from 6:30 to 8 are the 2 public listening sessions that will be held at the rec. So we'll be actively seeking public input for what we want, what the vision, what could be, what Brentwood Rec facility could be. And so what we wish we had. We want to have a splash pad, we want to have pickleball, tennis, expanded other opportunities. What's the vision, what's the ask? And that's what they're there to hear. The final presentation will be on Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. And they will be doing the reveal with the pictures and a presentation of what the professionals have come up with in that extremely short amount of time. But again, this is really just a what's possible at the Brentwood Rec type of a weekend. So if whoever is willing to, able to come, we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love for you to participate as much as possible. What do I got?
And we'll also post that, same places, Facebook and
All
website.
of it's going to be posted in as many places as we can think of.
Okay, great. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Okay. Russ?
I don't have any committee updates. Just one thing for your consideration as chair is this issue of telling Karen to speak up while she's trying to address the board. I appreciate certainly that sometimes it's not easy to hear. I don't have the best hearing in my right ear, so I am sympathetic. I don't know what the answer is. Or whatever, but I do know what the answer is not. I would just like consideration that the public not do that. I think it's rude and unnecessary, and I sympathize, but I guess I would just ask that while we're talking about how we operate and respect each other, that would be a big one.
I'd agree with you. I think in general, if a sentence or paragraph is said, that it would be polite to wait till the person is done speaking, to maybe say, can you repeat yourself? I think rather than interrupting would be the ideal.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know that we necessarily want to open it up to, can you repeat yourself every 20 minutes in a meeting either.
Correct.
I think it's just sometimes you're gonna miss something and perhaps after the meeting, you wanna follow up, you wanna make a note, and you wanna send an email with a question, all well and good. It's just that in terms of yelling out in the middle of someone's sentence, I think it's rude and unnecessary.
Noted. Paul, anything you have to bring forward?
Planning meets on Thursday. I don't know if, is there anything, Doug, that, anything?
Budget committee's gonna be there,
Okay,
and that's
thank you.
So that's the joint BudCom that's taking place at a regular planning board meeting. Okay. Okay. Updates from me, there was a school board meeting last night at Swayze School. It was their first meeting since the election. Allison Higgins was reelected as chair, and Brian Duffy is going to serve as the vice chair. There were some good discussions last night. They had some discussions about the SAU has established a wellness committee, and there were some discussions about whether Swayze is meeting some of the educational goals that have come from that wellness committee, like education about vaping and things like that. So that will be an ongoing discussion. An interesting financial discussion occurred. I think everybody had heard at this meeting over the past 2 months that because of 2 unanticipated expensive projects at Swayze, that Swayze was projected to come in with a negative budget. There was a discussion last night that due to what appears to have been an error with how money was encumbered and then spent, that likely that budget is actually going to be in the positive, but they are sort of going back to the numbers to clarify that. So if that turns out in the way that the board thought it was going to turn out, that would be a definite budgetary improvement for Swayze and give Swayze a little bit of wiggle room back that they were not sure that they had. So that was a good thing. There was some discussion about using impact fees, and this also is where the capital improvement plan came up, as I mentioned earlier, that certain Swayze projects need to be on the capital improvement plan if they are part of our long-term planning as a town. There was discussion that Rick, who is the chair of our energy committee, has been an invaluable resource to the school in terms of some of their early discussions about potentially bringing solar to the school, and that those conversations are ongoing. They are getting a new playground install that will go in during April break. And then there was a pretty lengthy discussion about some of the changes that have occurred, about how report cards are done and how teacher conferences are being held at Swayze. I think that's been an ongoing discussion at that board. So it was a good meeting, and I will bring back some updates on the financial situation. The overall bottom line is that they do not anticipate significant budgetary issues because they have some other potential funds that they can draw on to make sure that they don't overdraw their budget. So that was the, I think, helpful update for the town who had previously heard that there was a problem there. So that was a good update. And I think that's all that I have.
Do we have non-public?
We do for personnel,
Another?
unless any other board members have anything.
Make a motion to go into non-public for consideration of personnel matters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. We will go into non-public. Thank you for attending. Sorry, this was probably your copy and I wrote on it. Although we're changing it.